Jesse had breakfast with Maxime Bernier, the national leader of the PPC, the People's Party of Canada, yesterday. Are you ready for probably the juiciest bit that has ever produced
This
juice?
is the juiciest bit.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, you guys are going to be showered in our juice.
Let's get to it.
Canadian politics is boring, juicy bits.
Canadian politics is boring, juicy bits.
So this episode is going to be called Breakfast with Maxime. And
Breakfast with Maxime and
so
friends.
so the long and the short of it is
Breakfast with Maxime and friends.
Maxime. So Jesse saw how did this come? Jesse had breakfast with Maxime Bernier and his
I
posse,
did.
his
So
Atlantic Canadian posse. But Jesse, how did this start?
I don't remember. I think I just saw. I was looking at events. That's what it was. I was looking at events on Facebook for something fun to do, and I saw Maxime Bernier, the
And you
leader of
thought
the
that's fun.
PPC, the People's. What's the PPC stand for again?
People's Party of Canada.
That's it. Thank you. I always forget that the PPC is just what I know it as. The People's Party of Canada. And I saw it. I'm like, oh, yeah, he's in Halifax. He's having a breakfast. I've got to go.
So Jesse, you sent me you screenshotted the event and you sent it to me and you were
Uh,
like, let's go. And I have 4 kids doing sport and I was like, I can't go this weekend.
Right.
And you were like, I'm gonna go anyway. And how much was it? $50
It was
to
50
have
bucks.
breakfast?
Yeah.
$50 to have
You get
breakfast.
you get a $20 tax thing. What's it called?
Rebate?
That's the one.
That's because you technically we've now donated money to the PPC by
Sweet.
buying that ticket,
Oh,
which is
cool. Okay,
a
awesome.
double-edged sword of you going.
Yeah.
And you said you were going to go. You were going to take a friend, and I was like, yeah. While I was on the phone, take my kids to see Woody, the terrifying Christmas tree
The
in
child in the
Dartmouth.
Christmas tree. Yeah.
Yeah. You were like, can I take a friend? And I was like, yes. But then your friend didn't go, so you went on this trip all alone.
I did. It was very exciting.
And and the funniest
I
thing,
got to meet Maxime Bernier in person. It was very exciting.
so Jesse, so what happened when you arrived?
um I'll say that. So when I first arrived, it was at Kempster's Cookhouse on Kempt Road, and it's too bad the C in Cookhouse wasn't a K because that would have been very funny. But the Kempster's Cookhouse on Kempt Road, and it was breakfast, and so I'll say what happened when I showed up in a minute, but I met up with some of Maxime Bernier's people inside, and I tried to find my ticket, and right away they were like, "Are you Jesse Harley?" I'm like, "Oh yeah, yes, I am, yeah." And they're like, "Yeah, no, we looked you up." I'm like, "Oh, okay." And they're like, "Yeah, you're a filmmaker, right?" I'm like, "Yes, I am. Yes, yep, that's what I am. I'm a filmmaker." Michelle and Paul, both Michelle Lindsay and Paul Lindsay. I'm assuming you're married or brother and sister, one of the two. Um, Lovely to meet you both.
Or
Lovely.
both?
What? Or
Or both?
or both. Lovely to meet you both. Let me tell you, you did some good research. You did about a good 10-second Googling on my name to find out that I was a filmmaker. Had you been better at research, you would have found this podcast, which, by the way, I told you both about, and I really hope you're listening. And you would have listened to, I don't know, any one of our 300 and so episodes. And within 10 minutes, you would have realized, can I get a drum roll, please, Rhys? You just give me a drum
I don't
roll.
have one in front of me, but I'll put it in afterwards.
Okay. I was a spy. I'm not a fucking PPC supporter. Are you fucking nuts? Like, I had to pretend the entire fucking time that I believed these ridiculous values. Oh my god.
So what happened? So you went in and sat down,
So, well,
and then
first off, I to rewind a little bit, Reese. When I got there, I got out of the Uber, and I was like, "Oh fuck, I don't know what Maxime Bernier looks like." Shit. And so I had to, like, in front of the Kempster's Cookhouse, uh I had to Google him. I'm like, "Oh, okay. He's a all right." Yeah. And I went in, and that's when I met that's when I met, like, Michelle and Paul and her various other people, and they sat me down to an okay pancake bacon breakfast. It was okay. It was fine. Lots of coffee. It was fine. Nothing to write home about. Kempsters, just letting you know, up your fucking breakfast game, guys, and maybe don't support the PPC. But
They don't let them come and launch a breakfast in your restaurant.
yeah, so I went in and I was like, they sat down next to me and they're drilling me with questions because, as I found out later, they don't get a lot of new people coming in when they do these things. Like, it's the same
I'm so
supporters they've
shocked.
had.
I'm so shocked.
Right. They told me later, like, yeah, fresh blood. Jesse, having you come in here is so nice because it's like we see the same faces over and over and over again. So it's really nice to see new people. So, like, maybe that's why they were asking me so much about myself. At first, I thought they were just kind of trying to like suss out if I'm really one of them or not. But no, they were just lonely. And just,
Yeah, it's less of a political movement and more of a political static organization.
so they were asking me, they asked me like, so what do you like about the PPC? Why do you support the PPC? What are your thoughts on the PPC and why are you here? Why are you a supporter? And I'm like, fuck me. I did no research. I thought this was just gonna be fun. I should have done like 5 minutes of fucking research before I went. I'm an idiot. I'm like, I don't know anything about their policies. And I just started to bullshit for about 5 seconds. And then suddenly I was cut off by Michelle, who started to take command of the room because we were going to start talking and start the meeting and all that. I'm like, oh, thank Christ. And then everyone around the room talked and Maxime talked. And I'll say this about Maxime. Because he did a lot of talking later. And I don't mean this as an insult. This is, to the best of my ability, like I would say, a very accurate observation about the man. Okay, he is. I really can't think of a better word for it other than he's a moron. He is moronic. Okay, like
In what sense?
in
In
every
what
sense.
way?
He's just
You've got to explain. You've got to
oh,
explain.
I will.
Because
I've got lots of
he
examples.
was almost the leader of the. He was so close to becoming the leader of like the National Conservative Party.
Oh yeah, but you
Progressive
got to hear
Conservative
what he
Party.
says up close in a breakfast, not when he's on a podium with news people listening. Okay, like the shit that
It's
came out
like
of this
mask.
man's.
Is it like the mask off?
He'll go on rants, okay, that seem comprehensive, and then he'll stop to be like, by the way, climate change isn't real, and then he'll just keep going. It's so like he's anyway. I can get to that. Do you have questions for me, Rhys?
I kind of do. So what kind of when you said that you were fresh blood? How would you describe the room? Like, demographically, like, was there a particular vibe? Were they welcoming? Like, I don't know. What
Yeah.
was the kind of vibe did you feel? I'm assuming you felt pretty safe and like kind of they were
Well,
just people, normal people.
I'm not gonna lie. I did I did take an assessment of the people in the room in case things got ugly and asked myself, could I physically defend myself if I needed to? The answer was yes.
Okay, cool.
Weirdly, the room had a handful of immigrants, a small handful of I'm trying to think of the politically correct term, disabled people, and just a handful of older white people, and that
So
was
it was diverse.
it was diverse, yeah, in the weirdest way possible because they were all just, and I'll get to that because they all had a chance to speak, and like at one point, this is where it started, and I was like, they all went around the room and introduced themselves, and I had to because they were, and I was like, what the fuck am I going to say when it comes to me, right?
It's like
Why am I here?
I've been to business networking events, and that's nerve wracking in
Right?
its own.
But I'm like, they were all asking me about the film industry and they were talking to me about the film industry before this all started. And I'm like, okay, I'll just lean into that. And it came to me and I'm like, hi, I'm Jesse Harley. The film industry here in Nova Scotia collapsed in 2015. And I need to know that won't happen again. And I'm looking for a strong party that knows, that understands finances and economics.
Are you pro film, Maxime? Are you pro film?
Yeah, exactly. So that, and they fucking bought it. So that's great. And it went around. They went around the room, and everybody talked for far longer than I did, which was great. And then we got to an immigrant and her husband, and she was going on about for like 5 minutes about how insanely, intensely difficult it was for her to become a Canadian citizen. Actually, forget the different tiers. It's citizen the first, whatever it is, to become a Canadian, or like a
Yeah,
resident, like
yeah.
a permanent, what resident. How difficult it is, and how many questions she was asked over how many months, and how much documents and how much proof she had to prove that, it's so much work over and over and over and over and over again, proving that she knew what she was talking about. She was with her husband. They loved him. Blah 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 blah. And she was talking about how incredibly frustrating it was to become a Canadian. And I'm sitting there going, "This is reasonable. This actually makes sense. This is a reasonable argument to have. Of course, we would want this process to be easier for people, this process to be more streamlined, to be more efficient. Of course, who wouldn't want that? Do you think, Reese, do you think that was the point she was trying to make?
No, what was
No,
the
what do you
point?
think the point she was trying to make? 5 to
The
10 minutes of going on about how difficult it was for her to become a Canadian. What do you think
uh,
her point was?
it's because of that communist in Ottawa.
No, 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 not at all. Not at all. They then went on to talk about Syrians and how easy it was for them to come into the country and how it wasn't fucking fair. They should have had to have a
Ah,
just as hard time as she did.
so the refugees who'd lost everything,
Yeah,
including members of their family and an entire way of life, and the entire civilization has been turned to rubble, who came here out of desperation and not because they ever planned to move to Canada. They should have had a just a hard time.
just as difficult a time.
Yeah, yeah.
Her point was not, yes, it was hard for me. Let's make it easy for everybody. Her point was, yes, it was hard for me. Fuck them for not having just as equally a hard time. That's unfair. Wham,
What I
wham,
want to see
wham.
is traumatized war victims be further traumatized by needless bureaucracy.
Because I had to go through a hard time, and
Yeah.
I therefore want everybody to go have the equally hard. I'm like, this is
Your
fucking
your
nuts.
scars need to match my
Yes, and
scars.
everyone in the room agreed with her, like, vehemently. And it was so hard. I was trying so many times to stifle laughter throughout the entire fucking breakfast, and it was just like my chest was laughing, but my face was serious the whole time because, like, I couldn't, like, some of the
Did
shit
you
these
get you
people.
came out with like hemorrhoids or something?
um
Like popped a hemorrhoid out front, called it the laughter.
It's only one thing Bernier gave me. So that was my first eye-opening experience. Because at first, when she was talking about the process, I'm like, okay, okay, these people aren't as crazy as I was led to believe. Okay, and then as soon as they're like, fuck them for having an easy time getting in, they should have had just as hard a time as me. And everyone's like, yeah, it's not fair. Yeah, it's right. It's not fair, was it? I'm like, oh my God, here we
That's really
go.
sad.
It's very sad, and it just keeps going, and other people in the room were like, they never felt really Canadian the whole time they were here, and the first time one of them truly felt Canadian was during the Freedom Convoy
Okay.
protests. That was when she really felt Canadian, was during the Freedom Rally. Um, and oh yeah, and they're all against. Oh, and one woman was she refused to get vaccinated. And again, you know what? Like, that's a complicated gray issue, and I like complicated gray issues because they encourage discussion.
Yeah,
And the
yeah.
whole mandated vaccine is, I'm gonna say, a complicated issue. It's not clear cut. It's not clear cut as this should have happened or this shouldn't have happened. It's something that warrants discussion, and I don't know if we'll ever come to an agreement on it. But, like, your body, your choice is one thing. That's fine. But understand there are consequences to those things. Okay. And she had I think it was a massage business or a hairstyling business. I think it was hairstyling, right? And she told her clients that she proudly was not vaccinated, and then her clients politely declined to come in anymore, and she was mad at them for this. I'm like, you don't understand. You're offering your clients another service now, right? Like free COVID with haircut. You know what I mean?
But also as well, I mean, that's sad because like she made a choice. She
Yeah.
made her own personal choice. And like, if you have principles and you stick to your principles, typically will end up costing you money,
Yes.
regardless of whether whether people agree with them or not. And
This
she
is going to
stuck to
be
her principles, but that's nobody's fault.
no.
And
This
if
is
she
going to be a long,
if
juicy bits, by the way, just dear listener, because I've got a lot to
this is
say.
only 5% of
This
the
is
way in.
yeah, exactly.
But
Yeah,
like, so like for her, like if that's a personal red line, great. But that's sacrificing her business or her customer base. It's sad. No
it
one
is
wants to
sad.
see
Yeah.
anyone's livelihood go under, especially when she's worked hard to build it. But at the same time, you kind of go, like you got to respect those customers for also making their choice and sticking to their principles.
Well, she doesn't have to respect them. She doesn't respect them. She's mad at them.
No, but she should, because they made the same choice she did.
Sure. Right. Oh, yeah. Of course. And that makes sense. That's a logical,
Yeah,
that's a
exactly.
logical conclusion to come to.
What you need to do is advertise that if you're unvaccinated and you're fed up of being guilt tripped by vaccinated hairdressers, then come and get free, like a
But see
vaccine
that,
free.
but then again, Rhys, you are a marketing genius. Okay. I've said this to you for years.
I don't think that's a good marketing strategy.
It's a great marketing strategy. Know your audience. Yeah, of course. Market to unvaccinated people who want haircuts in a place where, I don't know, you might be afraid of catching 5G or something. You know,
that hairdresser failed to pivot. That's the problem.
Yeah. So I had an analogy for this that I think is kind of fun. Imagine that everybody in Canada has a gun that's attached to their hip and it's pointing outwards. Okay. And it's just how we do. We all walk around with guns attached to our hips in holsters, but the holster isn't holstering the gun pointing down. It's like holding onto the gun and the gun is pointing straight outwards. And then suddenly there's a computer virus, and the computer virus takes over these mechanical computer guns. Let's just say it's getting a little weird, granted, right? And this computer virus, okay, will randomly shoot the gun at random intervals that you cannot control. Just bam,
this is a
bam,
shit.
Bam.
This is a shit pitch for a new sci-fi movie. Jesse.
I know, right? It just randomly shoots the gun. Randomly. You have no idea. Maybe you don't have the computer virus. Maybe you do. And if you do, you don't know if that gun's going to go off, when or where. You have no idea. It's not under your control. Okay. And so the government is like, hey, we have a patch for this computer virus. And it's 96% effective. Yes, there's a tiny percentage that it'll still go off, but like 96%, that gun will not go off. And you're like, you know what? Fuck you. I'm not getting that computer patch. I'm still going to run my hairdressing business. Okay. What do you mean you don't want to come in and get your hair done by me when this gun could go off in your abdomen at any time? What are you talking about? You don't want that. What the fuck? Fuck you. That's what it's like. It's insane. Okay.
Yeah, but playing devil,
I'm mad at them for not wanting a potentially shot in the face with a gun. Like it's so stupid.
I'll play devil's advocate. The argument back would be,
please.
That patch isn't 100% effective, and also you'll rewrite my DNA to make me a shit version of Windows Vista and then be controlled by the government.
Is what they, I mean, that's clearly not.
Yeah, that's
true.
The comeback,
but that's what they believe. Yes.
Yeah,
exactly. Because they heard it on a podcast like ours. Right.
I'm surprised you went. You're one of the most COVID cautious people I know, and you literally went.
Honest to God, man, Montreal beat it out of me.
If you wanted to have like
if I was going to catch COVID,
an unvaccinated convention, it was at this breakfast with Maxime.
I was vaccinated, you know, but like, honestly, God, living in Montreal beat it out of me. Seriously, there's so many fucking people there, man. If I was going to get it, I was going to get it. I was like, all right, well, fuck.
You know what you should have done when you introduced yourself? You should have said your vaccination status and your pronouns, and then see how they reacted. I'm vaccinated, and I like the pronouns he, him. Just like start frothing.
Do you have any questions at this point, Rhys? Oh, by the way, sorry. I need to do some ASMR.
So while Jesse molests Can, I didn't speak to Jesse for more than 5 minutes yesterday because I wanted to make sure we got all this recorded because it was really nice and fresh. So tell me, what was the purpose of? Was it just to hang out and vent? It sounds like it was almost like group therapy.
The purpose for them?
For everyone, it sounded like group therapy.
I mean, like he's doing a tour. He's in PEI right now. That's from what I've been told. I'm really sorry for you guys in PEI, but if any of you guys want to go have breakfast with Maxime Bernier and do the same thing,
and be poorly researched for 5 minutes.
I had a goal when I was sitting there, and I was like, okay, I have 2 goals. I have to tell them about my podcast so they listen to this episode. And also I have to get a photo with me and Maxime where I'm giving the finger.
No,
I'm giving the middle
is
finger.
that Maxime calling you?
Yes, that's Maxime right there. Yeah, I get a photo with Maxime. I'll tell that story later. Actually, I've got more to say.
No. Just to preview that, Jesse, I think Jesse peaked yesterday because his photo with Maxime is a work of art.
Thank you very much. I'll say how I got it.
Yeah. So what else? Was there any other kind of moments that kind of really stick out to you as they went around the room and people vented openly about why they support PPC?
There was another one who was talking about the Charter of Rights and Freedoms that he hung on his wall, and I think it was um, when I forget, it was either during the trucking convoy or the vaccine mandates where he took it off his wall and stared at it and like, this is not the Charter of Rights and Freedom, which is like, I think it had to do with like shutting down the bank accounts of the truckers, which now Maxine talked about that a lot. About he used to be a vice president of a bank, which I did not know until he told us. So he
Oh,
knows
he's like a proper high flyer in Canadian society. He has been for decades.
he knows about
Or
money.
was.
I'll give him
Yeah,
that. He
yeah.
knows about money, and he's like, what what they did to the like shutting down the truckers' banks was very illegal, and they and blah blah. He just went on about it. Well, it's like, yeah, I agree. Like, regardless of whether I believe in what the trucker convoys did, or what they stood for, what our government did to them was illegal. That's a breach of privacy. I can agree with that. And so, like, anytime that Maxime made sense, it had to do with finance, and then he'd break off and say something insane. Okay, like
So you kind of I'm with you, I'm with you, I'm with you, and relax. As
And
you
I
kind of
and you lot like,
fed
for
off
instance,
into
he doesn't believe in climate change because and his reasoning is so fucking I'm like, "Oh, thank God we've got a politician who's also a climate like a meteorologist here." Like, fucking the guy's so fucking stupid. He says, "I remember living in the '80s, and they told me that the oceans were going to rise, and that never happened. And we called it global warming back then, and then they changed it to global cooling, and then they changed it to climate change so that they could call it whatever they wanted." And everybody in the room laughed. That was why climate change doesn't exist, is because what they told him happened back in the day didn't happen according to what he thinks. Like, that's his
and
reasoning for
also
why climate
eyewit
change
eyewit
doesn't
eyewit
exist.
eyewitness testimony notoriously unreliable.
I have
So
something amazing that he said. Amazing. He kept going on. Not only him, but his like the other people in the room kept going on about how people are calling the PPC racists, and it's the racist party, and how Maxime Bernier is racist, and they all laugh at this because at one point he had Muslims canvassing for him. But later on, I swear to God, Rhys, he referred to non-white people as blacks and yellows.
wow.
Yeah, that happened.
So what is it, like 1973? Jesus. That's like
I swear to Christ, he called them blacks and yellows. Like,
yeah.
fucking, yeah. I
I
was
mean I mean, like, I get that, like, there was a diverse crowd there, and they probably have quite a diverse base, but when you hear stuff like that, you just go, "What the hell is going on?" It doesn't connect. Do they just
he
choose their language around certain people?
I guess,
You know?
right? And then he's, you would just, like, again, talk about finance, and then, uh and, like, yeah, immigration has to be, like, I don't know, man. It's like every war that's happening on the planet right now is not our war, and he brought up other politicians in the past who would say the same thing, and they all proudly agreed, like, "Yeah, let's just not be involved. Let's not help people. Let's not," and
Yeah.
when he talked about the Canadian military being, peacekeepers, thought he literally referenced it as a way he thought that it meant keeping the peace in Canada, not keeping the peace in other countries. He thought that's what that meant. He didn't know what peacekeepers do because it was all about keeping it here, keeping it like our defense. It's all about keeping it in Canada and not being involved in other wars in other countries and not helping other people. That's what
So he
Canadians
wants
do.
for
I'm
the
like,
Canadian
what?
Army to be like a second police force, but
But only
with
for our own country, like not helping other people.
okay.
Yeah, and yeah, he's all about not getting involved in other people's wars and other people's like not helping out, not helping out at all. Don't bring people in. Don't go help out other people. Stick here. Have our money. Stay here. It's like just it's so insular. It's so weird and like. And what else did he say? And just randomly talks about gender and sex for no reason. Like no one brings it up. There's no like segue. Just randomly. Oh, by
Well,
the way, there are only
climate change.
yeah.
Don't help other countries, and gender.
Yeah,
Just
and it's just be like,
he
oh,
was he was sound it sounds like he was scatting, like free forming.
yes, yes. But like he would talk about gender, and then he's like, "Oh yes, when it's speaking of gender, all that nonsense," and then he would just say there are only two sexes. Which, by the way, I had to look it up because I didn't know, and apparently there are 6 sexes. That's kinda neat. I didn't know that. Like the X chromosome, Y chromosome, how, like, if you're born with either 2 X's or an X and a Y, apparently there are 6 combinations you can be born with. And you can be born with different combinations in the head and the genitals and the body, and, like, it's all a huge sort of mishmash. Didn't know that. Neat.
But everything ever is basically is not any none of that argument is based in science. It's based on the Bible, essentially.
Right. Yeah, which he also talks
So it's
about how
all
we were like a Christian country, after proudly saying that he had Muslims like fucking canvassing for him, you know. So what else did he say? He was oh yeah, basically that was basically it. It was like, he was going on about gender and the and woke judges. Woke judges. I wanted to ask him what woke meant, but I just held my tongue. I just didn't say anything the whole time. Fuck man. And then oh yeah.
woke judges who aren't afraid to use 1970s racial slurs.
Oh man. So that was essentially at one point I think they were talking about brainwashing and how like oh yeah, it was a sight to fucking behold, Reese. Let me tell you, okay? This guy
D-
is a dinosaur with old mentalities and old like and you know what? Okay, look. That's fine. You know what? You and I have old mentalities right now if you skip ahead 30 years. All right? It's
oh
our
yeah, of course.
yeah,
Yeah, we'll be dickheads in 30 years.
exactly. It's whether or not you're willing to learn as the world evolves.
Exactly.
And he is not.
I think there's this thing where you get some people at some point in their life. It might be when they're 22, it might be when they're 41, it might be when they're 63. It might never happen, but there's a point where some people just put a stick in the mud and go, "This is it. This is who I am now
They
forever."
draw a line
And
in the
and
sand sort of
and
thing, like
yeah, no evidence or information or physical or mental effect will ever change, even if it means like disowning my own kids or having them disown me. No, this is it. This is who I am now, and I
I
will
mean,
not
like, I
develop.
kinda a weird part of me kinda respects that level of steadfastness, of, like, stick-to-itiveness. It's impressive.
It's kind of toxic at the same time.
It's incredibly toxic, but, like, just the level of, like, "No, no further."
So was any part of you swayed by
No!
this political organizing
Fuck
machine?
no, man. Are you nuts? Jesus Christ. These guys were insane. Out of their fucking minds, insane.
So I was
Okay?
I was I was 50-50 on whether you were gonna come back and go, "Do you know what? I don't agree with them, but they were reasonable people. They just don't have the right information." But you're just going, "No,
What
they're
is with my
insane."
friends, man? Ryan also had to have a talk. My friend Ryan had to have talk with me. He's like, okay, they might make some points, but just know. I'm like, how fucking stupid do my friends think I am? It's
You have to
really insulting, honest to
I
Christ. Like,
didn't think you were gonna fall for it. I just didn't think that you'd be have such a strong reaction the other way.
he's like he's not racist in like today's racist, okay? Where he's not actively racist, okay?
No.
He's old school racist where he doesn't know he's racist. He's just being who he knows. He's just
Yeah.
being who he's raised to be. And we're like, you can't say those things anymore. And he doesn't understand why, So it's not like he's,
It's
you
it's
know,
like it's like when you it's like when, like my grandmother, she hated German people. And, she'd been through the war. She'd lost some of her best friends from World
Mhm.
War II.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I remember my cousins had some German exchange students over, and she was singing all these, like, kind of, anti-Nazi songs that they used to sing while they were, like, making bombs and
Oh,
stuff.
well,
And you kinda go,
PTSD has a lot of,
these 12-year-old kids, it's not their fault. Like, they didn't play a part in Hitler's war machine, but, it caused a lot of trauma for your society at that time.
yeah, I
But
really
at the
hate the
same
whole
time but at the same
sins of the
time,
father thing. I hate the sins of the father sort of thing. Like
but that's just who she was from experience. But you go, it kind of feels like you get those vibes from it, where you just go,
yeah.
you just go, well, you politely kind of just let them do their thing in the meeting space of a discount breakfast restaurant,
And it
and then
was discount breakfast. Oh my god.
and just let them carry on doing it, and don't worry, don't worry.
Oh, I'm not worried. I'm not worried. In
Like,
fact, I want people to vote for the PPC. And this was Ryan, my friend Ryan's point on this, and I agree with him. If you're going to vote right, if you're going to vote on the right side of politics, vote for the PPC. And the reason is the more people who vote for the PPC, the more you're going to split the vote. Okay, the less people are going to vote for conservative.
well, I mean,
That's a good thing.
people who can't decide, like, say you're like, do I vote Liberal or NDP? Am I going to do a strategic vote? Just do PPC.
Exactly. So, like, I'm not concerned about him at all. He's a sweet old man who has really, really, really old ways of thinking. He knows a lot about finance, and that is literally it. As far as his views on the rest of the world and politics and policies go, he is sadly moronic. Okay.
Would you have?
Seriously,
You could have
if
him.
you
I could
hand
have him run a bank. He
if
could
you
run a bank.
yeah, he can run a bank. He can run a bank. But like, as far as anything else, you could hand him a brown paper bag with human feces inside and a spoon, and he'd thank you for the pudding. Okay, he's not too bright upstairs. Okay, like
A
seriously,
few French fries short of a Happy Meal.
he really is. Okay,
Okay.
honest to God, like
A few home fries. A few home fries short of a PPC breakfast.
the most insulting thing I could say about him, which is also accurate, is he's adorable. Okay.
Oh,
He's just,
really?
oh, yeah. He's just this, like, it's just, like, if
See, because normally, like, when you think of the far right,
if
you
you
don't
open up his
think.
skull
You,
inside, you just find a few fireflies floating around. Okay. Like, there's and a calculator. Like,
no, but I just feel like you always think about the far right as like, you look at Nazism, you always think it's terrifying, but it sounds gentle.
what do Nazism sounds gentle?
No, no, Maxime sounds
Oh,
gentle.
Maxime, I misheard you. Okay. Yeah.
Oh, I think.
He's
I mean,
harmless. He's harmless.
Nazis
Like,
are hilarious. The
I,
uniforms are incredible.
after
Like,
meeting
for
like the
comedy
people
purposes.
well, no, after meeting like his followers, I'm like, the PPC is not going to go anywhere. They're not going to gain any traction. This is fine. His followers are smart to a point. And after that point, everything falls apart. And they're all I'm like, I'm not worried. I'm not worried about this group at all. Okay.
It sounds like everyone their car broke down, and they were, rather than looking at whether like they had enough fluid in the engine for like cooling the engine, or like there was something wrong with the brake lines, they literally pointed at a bird and went, "Is that bird's fault?" As they were stood on the side of the road. That's what the feeling I get.
It's that bird's fault. And then a man comes along with a shotgun and says, "You're right. It is that bird's fault. I'll take care of the bird and be your leader."
And just
That's
starts
Maxime
wildly
Bernier. Yeah.
shooting in the air and
Yeah,
never
exactly.
hitting anything apart from power lines.
So I was sitting there and I'm like, all right, I've got two objectives. I want to tell them about my podcast because I need them to hear this fucking episode and know what a shit job they did at researching. They're like one new member.
Well, as,
Right.
as, as, as much as like is insane, though, I don't want them to feel bad about themselves, but hopefully they can kind of like,
I kind of
um,
do. They're
I don't.
dicks. They're dicks.
I do. I feel bad because I just feel like people have just gone down a path with the wrong information and taken it too
Oh,
far.
okay.
Hopefully, they'll loop back around.
Thank you for
Like,
being the voice of reason as always, Rhys. You know what? I do appreciate you. You do keep me sort of grounded in that regards. You're like, yeah, that is funny, Jesse, but they're also people. Yeah, okay, I guess.
I mean, like this thing, we've all got relatives who say horrible things, believe horrible things, but we still buy them a Christmas present. Do you know what I mean? It's still,
Like, I'm getting grandma a mug that says, I'm not a racist, I swear on it. Yeah, just.
exactly.
So I was sitting there, I'm like, all right, I'm going to tell them about my podcast, but I also really desperately want to get a photo with Maxime where I'm giving the middle finger to the camera. How am I going to get away with this? And so at the end, after they all finished talking and all the fucking okay pancake breakfast has been done, the French toast was okay. She like, they were like, what's her name? I got her cards right here. Was it Michelle? Is that who I said? I had the cards. What did I do with them? Michelle
You lost.
Michelle Lindsay was like, okay, if anyone wants a photo with Maxime Bernier, now's the time. I'm like, perfect. And then they just all line up next to the fucking banner behind him, and she would take their phone and take their photo. I'm like, oh shit, I can't do that. She's not gonna let me give the finger. There's no way she's gonna let me give the finger. I'm like, fuck, okay, I gotta wait. And then I waited, and it was fine. I was waiting because I was being like drilled about the film industry by Paul, who was explaining to me what a music video was. It was
Nice.
very strange.
As I was never too old to learn, Jesse.
True. Yep, that's true. Yeah. Thank you, Paul, for educating me on what a music video was.
I don't know why. I mean, it sounds like a preposterous idea. Why would music need a video?
It's very strange. And so after that, all the photos have been done, and then it looked like he was about to leave. I'm like, oh, I'm gonna go talk to him before he goes. And Paul's like, oh no, he's our ride. We're going to PEI. He's not going anywhere without us. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. And then I went and I grabbed.
He's our ride.
No, not he's our ride. Sorry, we're his ride is what I meant.
Okay,
Yeah.
Maxime's driving them around. Let's get a drive
Get a
through.
big bus, yeah.
Maxime Van Date.
Right, yeah.
They're real.
So I grabbed a dirty menu with a hole in it, and I was like, I'm going to get him to sign this for Rhys. I tried to get him to say, go get your incredible freedom. But he didn't write that. He wrote something similar to freedom, freedom for all or something like that. But I'm just really happy he wrote it on the back of a dirty menu with a hole in it. Like he never questioned it, not once. Not like, let me get you a better piece of paper. Like
that's signed. Hang on, I got a picture of it. What I love about it is you took a photo of both sides for me, and I can't wait to see you later to get it off you. But it says, People's Party of Canada, unlimited coffee / tea taxes and gratuity, 3 breakfast choices. There's 1 breakfast, 2 eggs, blah, 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 blah. And then on the back it says, to my friend Rhys, freedom for all, Maxime. And then you said there's a hole in it. And there's like, I'm sure there's a bit like, I don't know, like grease on some bean juice.
Yeah, exactly. So I was like, okay, now's my chance. And I had this plotted out. I knew how this would all play out. And it played out exactly like I thought it would. Okay. So I'm like, all right, I'm going to get a selfie with him. And when I'm doing the selfie, I'm like, hey, can I get a selfie with you? And he's like, yes, of course, sure. And I'm just acting like the proud, happy supporter. And I lean into him, shoulder to shoulder. I put the camera out in front of us. And I'm like, okay, on 3, say, go to hell, Trudeau. And then I don't even wait for him to respond. I'm just like, 1, 2, 3, go to hell, Trudeau. And then as soon as I say, go to hell, Trudeau, I throw my finger up towards the camera and I take the photo. And he's just like smiling, caught in like a deer in the headlights. And he's like, had this uncomfortable chuckle, like, sort of, and then off he goes to immediately talk to John and or Paul and Lindsay. Right. And I was like, yes, now they're going to come over and ask me to delete the photo. And they did. They came over and Paul first talked to me about how, well, we can't, did you get a fuck Trudeau photo with him? And little did he know it wasn't a fuck Trudeau photo. It was a fuck Bernier photo. Right. I'm like, and I was all proud and acting like, yes, I did get a fuck Trudeau photo. Ha 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 ha. And I was like, I know where this is going. And he's just talked to me about how like, that's not the message that we want to portray and stuff like that. And, hold on a second. I want to see what by the way, yeah, I want to see what they have a slogan, which sounds really nice. I just want to see, what's it called? Come on, what's their
You're trying to find the party slogan.
The party slogan. Yeah, there's like
common sense policies that put Canadians first. That's on their website.
That's not it. No, it's like anyway. Just to finish this story. So then they're just like, just don't post that anywhere. I'm like, no problem. And then Lindsay comes up later and says the exact same thing to me. And then she awkwardly is like, can you delete that photo for us? And I'm like, yes, of course I can. And I take out my phone right in front of them and I delete the photo.
Because you're a polite, well-raised young man.
And I'm like, and they're like, oh, sorry. I'm like, don't apologize. You guys are the pros. You know what works and what doesn't work. I'm just an excited supporter. I just got too excited. And they bought it. And that's great. And then I'm like, okay, well, my Uber's here. I'm going to have to go. And I'm like, can Maxime come on our show? And Lindsay was like, yes. And I talked to Rhys about this first. I'm like, do you want to have Maxime on our show first before we fucking spill the beans on why I was there? And he was too excited and he wanted to put this out first.
I
So
mean, maybe honestly, like
there's
if he
no
wants to,
fucking way Maxime's coming on our show now. Like,
he might want to come back and like if he wanted to counter anything we said and like fill in the blanks.
I'm not a racist. I have so many yellow people voting for me. Are you kidding me? Like,
Exactly.
yeah.
All right, Granddad, come on, let's go.
Get
Let's
back
go.
in your van. Yeah.
Yeah, let's go and watch Murder She Wrote. Come on. Anyway,
So my Uber showed up and I shook their hands and they said yes, Maxime would be happy to be on our show. By the way, like seriously, happy to.
that'll
No
be the
problem.
first. So far, we've had the leader of the Green Party in Alberta, who is no longer the leader of the Green Party. He stepped down.
Oh no.
And that's it. We're the mayor of Halifax. We've never. It would be cool to have a national
I
party
mean,
leader.
if you
I
want
just
to,
don't know.
if you want to like postpone this episode,
No,
like,
this is going out. This is too good. And
okay, because if
you
I'm
were also
telling you,
telling our patrons a little. You were giving sneak previews to our patrons in the
Yeah.
Patreon chat. So,
So-
they're going to be so pissed off if we didn't put this out.
So after having deleted the photo in front of them and then being very happy about that, like a collective sigh of relief, right? I asked if Maxime could come on our show, and Lindsay was like, yes, of course. And I shook her hand and took her card. I'm like, okay, well, it was lovely meeting you guys. I'll see you later. And I went and I left. And I got in the Uber and I took out my phone. And iPhones and Androids have this lovely thing where if you delete a photo, you've got 30 days to recover it. And I just immediately recovered the photo and I sent it to Rhys.
And it will be posted on. I will post it tonight. I'm not posting it straight away. It will be posted tonight, November the 20th. This evening, I will post that picture because, like I said, it is a work of art, Jesse.
Thank you. And any listeners, if you want to grab that photo and add your own captions to it, that would be amazing. And send it to us.
I am making a T-shirt of it too.
Fuck yes. Fuck yes. That's amazing. Please. Oh my God. Oh, that's
I know
so
she's
great.
going to put breakfast with Maxie. Oh my God, Jesse!
That was so much fun.
I said this to you. I said I'm very proud of you and your undercover. Undercover Jesse should be a whole new thing. We should be flying you around the country to go undercover at
I will
different
totally do
political
this.
events.
I'll just have to wear different like disguises, like a handlebar mustache and a wig, and
Exactly.
yeah.
Oh, don't worry. They won't do any. They will do background research, but it won't be that. It won't be that deep.
They were. I'm pretty sure the reason that they didn't do any more research past I'm a filmmaker, which yeah, if you Google me, you'll see that come up first. But like, if they just did like 30 seconds more research into like what I'm assuming is the only other person the only new person they've had in a long time, from what they've kind of told me, maybe one or two or three other people, but like seriously, if you're worried about people coming, just do a little bit more research.
Just a little bit of a deeper
just
dive.
a tiny bit. You would have found our left-leaning fucking podcast that is very popular. Like, oh my God. Oh my God.
Although, to be fair, like we do have quite a diverse listenership.
We do, and we're proud of those people, and we're happy. Like there was, who was it that said, and I really agreed with them. Oh, it was our listener that we had on recently, James.
Yes,
I don't think we posted that out yet. That'll be coming.
that
out
hasn't
soon.
gone on yet. No,
Yeah,
no, James. James, who's from Black Ball Media.
Yeah, and James said, and changed my mind, and I agreed with him when he said that we need people to be more politically ambidextrous. Which I was just like, I love that concept. That's great. You know, I'm not against the right. I'm not against the left. I'm against extremism, and that includes the left. That's just, you know, where you're like you're hard up against a wall. You're like, and like, this is a line and no further. Like you were saying before, you know, no matter what, you're like, you can't be bent, you can't be taught, you can't, you refuse. That's what I'm against. You know, and that's what these guys represent. That's the PPC.
Just put a stick in the ground and gone.
Yeah.
No, but yeah, I think if you like Jesse going undercover and reporting firsthand, next time we should give you like a big hat with a camera sticking out the top to do like that. And undercover filming is legally problematic.
You can get glasses from Ray-Ban, sunglasses.
I've seen them. Yeah, smart glasses.
I was like, and like I recorded a little bit of the video of him talking, And the way I got away with it was I was watching. I was like, I want to record something. He didn't say anything juicy during when I recorded it, which is really unfortunate. But like Lindsay was recording with her phone, and Lindsay was like right beside me and Paul, and I just leaned over to Paul and like nodded towards Lindsay. I'm like, hey, since she's recording, can I record a small video? And Paul got like really uncomfortable, but he couldn't see a reason for me not to because it was also being recorded by Lindsay. So he's like, uh, uh, yeah, just a small video. That's okay. And I did. I just whipped out my phone and started recording. He didn't say anything juicy during that time, which is really unfortunate. But
Yeah, I think that's always a worrying sign. Like where they're like they don't normally want as much exposure as many phones recording as possible. And when you kind of like when that's the response, you go, maybe. I mean, Paul's good at his job.
Oh God.
Paul knows what he's got to do.
So to wrap up, he doesn't believe climate change is real. He they don't believe that the vaccine is effective. They don't believe in helping other countries. They're not racist, but he does call Asian people yellow. And
It's just the most it's just like just so
and there's only
unnecessary.
two sexes, and the whole gender debate is ridiculous and should be stopped immediately. So there's the People's Party of it was like respect and let me just see. PPC respect was part of it. Responsibility. Okay, respect. I'll find that. Where is it? For fuck's sake.
Respect, responsibility.
There's something else. There's fucking hell, man. There's like freedom, fairness, respect, and responsibility. Right. So freedom, unless you're an immigrant. Fairness,
Unless you're an immigrant.
unless you're an immigrant. Respect, unless you're gay. And responsibility, unless you're military. Yeah. Okay. So that's the People's Party of Canada right there. Sorry for the longest juicy bits we've ever had, but man, if you're with us till the end, like, thank you so much for listening this long. This has been so much fun.
Are you
Just spilling
exhausted?
the beans. I'm riled up, man. I could do this again. Like, this was great.
So funny.
Are you fucking
Well, we
kidding
need to
me?
find more events for you to undercover Jesse is like a whole new thing.
Yeah. I can't wait for us to I can't wait to reveal this photo, the greatest photo I've ever taken, deleted and recovered. Because they were too stupid to ask me to go in and delete the from oh gosh, that's okay.
Well, yeah. Do you have any final words? Any advice you'd give Maxime and the PPC people that you hang out with? Any words? What would your final message be to them?
Better breakfast places like Kempster's Cookhouse on Kempt Road. Really?
Is that it? Is that where they're going wrong?
Yeah.
They just need better breakfast choices.
Oh god, it's like I feel bad for their followers because they're all really passionate people, but they're just passionate about things that are factually incorrect.
What's that bird?
It's
The bird
like
made their
they
car break down.
like yeah, exactly. Their opinions are fine. Everyone has opinions, but when you believe your opinions to be fact is when it's problematic. Okay, I change my mind on this show all the fucking time. You hear me where I'm like, I have an opinion that's based on information that I heard somewhere. Someone comes along who's smarter than me, corrects me in a polite way, and I'm like, oh, huh, I was wrong. You know why? Because I don't give a shit if I'm right or wrong, because I still don't fucking care about this shit at all. It doesn't hurt my feelings. It doesn't bruise my ego to be wrong. And be like, huh, well, that's a good point. I never thought of it like that. More people need to be okay doing that. We're like, just don't hold on to your fucking beliefs as if it's who you are. Fuck off. Learn. Change your mind. That's okay. You're human, for fuck's sake. Anyway, that's all. That's it.
That was good advice.
Yeah.
That was good advice.
Thanks.
And provide better breakfast.
And provide better breakfast. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And just do like just the tiniest. Oh man, they were talking to me about like the film industry and like and like how this is before it all started, and they came up to me and they're like, because they're so excited to have, oh right, they were so excited to have a filmmaker as part of their support group because the only filmmaker they have doing film work for them makes wedding videos. It's so
That's
they're like,
amazing.
yeah, they're like, what kind of
Far
films do
right
you
wedding
yeah.
videos.
And so they're going on about like, oh yeah, no, the film industry, they were so up. Oh, the vaccine mandate for the film industry just destroyed everything. People were so upset about it. And I'm thinking like, no, they weren't. Fucking hell. Like, I know these people. You don't. Right. And they're like, yeah, no, they went and they talked to an epidemiologist, and the epidemiologist is like, yeah, no, the vaccine is useless. I'm like, wow. I was so fucking close to saying like, you guys are so lucky to know the world's smartest epidemiologist, like smarter than all the thousands of other ones on the planet right now, smarter than every doc. That's incredible. What odds?
Well, is the
What luck?
it's the definition of confirmation bias, where you don't go along with the consensus of the largest group of experts. You look for the one that's going to confirm your beliefs.
Yes, exactly.
This is like the definition.
It's actually
So
really
it's like-
uncomfortable to do. I've tried it. Like I was following a Dr. Berg on YouTube. I was following Dr. Berg for like years, and then I found out he's a fucking Scientologist. And I'm like, no. And I really wanted to, like, because I liked Dr. Berg. I'm like, oh, I just got to do the fucking. So I just started.
It's how a lot of
looking-
people feel about Will Smith.
Yeah, right, yeah. So I started looking up what he was saying, scientifically, medically speaking, from other doctors and other papers and other researchers, and I was like, okay, phew, it was like form of relief, but like it seems that like as far as medical advice goes, what he was talking about is still scientifically accurate, even though he himself is a fucking nut job. But I went through the uncomfortable process of trying to figure out if he was full of shit or not. And
Yeah,
it's,
did I fall for it? Is
did I
always
fall?
not a
Yeah,
very
yeah.
nice
And
feeling. Yeah, it's like,
fortunately, he was still talking science,
that's good.
which is great. Yeah, but I went through the process. Is the point? So, yeah.
So, well, should we wrap up this juicy bits with a
It's
song?
almost a fucking hour of juicy bits. This is the juiciest.
I told
bits.
you, there's no juice left. We're gonna have to
I
have a lay down.
I squeezed out all the
Have a
juice.
lay down.
I was smoking a coffee. Yeah.
Maybe go for a walk.
Was it good for you?
I'll see you tomorrow. Let's just watch a film tonight.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you guys so much.
Canadian politics is boring, juicy bits.
Canadian politics is boring, juicy bits.
Dear listener, if you want to see that special photo of me and Maxime Bernier, go to our social medias. You won't be disappointed, I swear to God. Oh, I do have one small announcement. Pete's Fruitique in Halifax, the workers there are on strike because Pete's refuses to pay them more than fucking minimum wage. Those fucking asshats. Anyway, if you're in Halifax or not and you just want to support them, go to www.petesonstrike.ca. Okay, yeah.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.